On January 8, 1942, exactly 300 years after the death of Galileo Galilei, a child was born in Oxford, England, a child who would come to redefine our understanding of the universe. Stephen William Hawking entered the world quietly, but fate had already marked him for greatness. Stephen's parents, Frank and Isabel Hawking, were both academics. Frank, a medical researcher, Isabel, one of the first female students at Oxford. Their home was filled with books, debates, and quiet eccentricity. Dinner conversations weren't about mundane events, they were about the cosmos, black holes, and science fiction. As a child, Stephen wasn't extraordinary in the classroom. He learned to read at a later age than his peers, and his grades were far from perfect. But behind those average marks hid a fiercely curious mind. He loved building things from model airplanes to rudimentary computers made from recycled parts. His friends nicknamed him Einstein not for his grades, but for the gleam in his eye when he pondered the universe. At St. Albans School, his intellect began to bloom. Though not a sportsman or a leader, he was deeply respected for his wit and imagination. His dream? To study mathematics at Oxford, but Oxford didn't offer a standalone math degree at the time. So, reluctantly, he applied to study physics. Despite the pressure of the Oxford interview process, Stephen's brilliance was undeniable. He began university at the tender age of 17. At first he was lonely and uncertain. He found Oxford's social world perplexing. But soon he adapted, rowing with the college team, making friends, and charming many with his dry sense of humor. While his professors suspected he wasn't working very hard, he rarely took notes. They couldn't ignore the results. Stephen could solve complex problems in his head, sometimes faster than others could write them down. By the time he graduated, Hawking was regarded as one of Oxford's most promising minds. But just as his future shimmered like a sky, the darkness began to creep in. After Oxford, Stephen continued his studies at the University of Cambridge, diving deep into cosmology. But during his first year there, something strange began to happen. He started stumbling. His hands wouldn't always obey him. He dropped things, tripped over stairs, slurred his words. At first, he brushed it off. Just clumsy, he thought. But the symptoms grew worse. Doctors performed tests. Puzzled, they eventually delivered a devastating diagnosis: amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, a progressive neurodegenerative disease. At just 21 years old, Stephen was told he had only 2 years to live. 2 years? That's what the world offered him. The young physicist fell into a deep depression. He locked himself away, angry and broken. What was the point of understanding the universe if he wouldn't live to explore it? But then something changed. He met Jane Wilde, a bright, determined student. Their friendship blossomed into love. Jane believed in Stephen, even when he didn't. Her unwavering support and quiet courage lit a fire in him. Where there is life, there is hope, she said. Stephen returned to his research with fierce urgency. If time was short, he would make it count. The universe became not just a curiosity, but a mission, a defiance. His work flourished. He earned his PhD, focusing on singularities, points where gravity becomes infinite, such as the center of black holes, or the moment of the Big Bang. Paradoxically, as his body weakened, his mind expanded. He joked, "The muscles don't work, but the brain never stopped." He married Jane in 1965. The same year he earned his doctorate. The prognosis had given him 2 years. That was 3 years ago, and he was just getting started. As the 1970s dawned, Stephen Hawking's name began appearing in the most prestigious scientific journals. Despite relying on a cane, then crutches, and eventually a wheelchair, he was a force in the academic world. His groundbreaking work showed that black holes weren't entirely black. They emitted what would later be called Hawking radiation, a theoretical prediction that bridged quantum mechanics and general relativity. If true, it meant black holes could eventually evaporate and disappear. This was revolutionary. It upended long-held assumptions and sparked debates that lasted for decades. The world took notice. Hawking had entered the scientific pantheon, but life was never simple. Stephen's health continued to decline. By the late 70s, he could barely speak. A bout of pneumonia in 1985 nearly claimed his life. Doctors had to perform a tracheotomy, removing his ability to speak entirely. It could have ended there. But once again, technology and people stepped in. Engineers created a voice synthesizer that allowed him to speak using cheek muscle movements. It was robotic, Americana-accented, and became iconic. His voice, mechanical but deeply human, became a symbol of resilience. Then came 1988. A Brief History of Time. Published to bring cosmology to the masses. The book became a global phenomenon. It spent over 4 years on the Sunday Times bestseller list. People from all walks of life, from janitors to heads of state, were now reading about time, wormholes, and the nature of existence. Stephen Hawking, once given 2 years to live, was now the most famous scientist on the planet. Fame has a price. As Stephen Hawking became a household name, his personal life began to fracture. The strain of his illness, the pressure of fame, and the challenges of constant care had taken their toll on his marriage. In 1995, after 30 years, Stephen and Jane divorced. He later married one of his nurses, Elaine Mason, a relationship that sparked controversy and concern. Despite personal turmoil, Hawking's career soared. He appeared in documentaries, gave lectures using his computerized voice, and even starred in episodes of The Simpsons and Star Trek. Children recognized him. Celebrities wanted to meet him. He became a symbol not just of intellect, but of perseverance. He remained deeply involved in physics. His debates with other scientists, especially over the nature of information in black holes, were legendary. He wasn't just doing science. He was shaping its future. In his later years, he became more vocal about global issues, artificial intelligence, climate change, and humanity's future. He warned that unchecked AI could spell doom, that we must find a new planet to colonize, and that we must act before it's too late. He said, "We are just an advanced breed of monkeys on a minor planet of a very average star, but we can understand the universe. That makes us something very special." Stephen Hawking passed away peacefully on March 14, 2018, fittingly on the birthday of Albert Einstein. He was 7'6". The boy who once struggled in school had outlived every medical expectation, reshaped modern physics, and become a symbol of human endurance. Flags flew at half-mast, scientists, artists, and presidents paid tribute. His ashes were interred at Westminster Abbey between Isaac Newton and Charles Darwin, a silent reminder that human spirit and thought can outlast the body. Today, his words continue to echo. Remember to look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see and wonder about what makes the universe exist. Be curious. Stephen Hawking taught us that the limits of the body do not define the limits of the mind. That the universe is not cold and empty, but filled with questions waiting to be asked. And that even in silence, a voice can change the world.